Hello everyone and welcome back to another Don't Look Back. Today we're doing one of the missions that come in the Sideshow Slaughter expansion. It is specifically called Figment, and that's because this theme park you can see in the middle of the woods before you may or may not be real. And we are here to banish the spirit of Booger, the haunting clown, with a remarkable similarity to a licensed IP. Anyway, here is the blurb about this mission first of all. Northwood hasn't seen a carnival in over 2 decades. Something happened all those years ago that people in the suburbs are still reluctant to talk about. Recently, some younger locals have been talking about hearing the sounds and seeing the lights of a small carnival off of Route 72. Others say it's just a figment of their imagination. So, I have set up the table already in the manner in which you can see according to the blurb that comes with the expansion. There is, again, if you're not familiar, 4 table sections in Don't Look Back. A, B over there, C down here, D over there. B and C have a fright token in the middle of them. There is a light in the center of the battlefield, or area, where currently Booger is sitting, but he won't be there when the match starts, of course. And there's also 4 balloons, one of which you can see here, but there's also one over there, one to your right, and then one on the far side of that red carnival attraction there. So the special rules in place: will him away. As long as a long action, a character within 2 inches of Booger may attempt to will him away. You roll a d20, and if it's less than your current terror, you drive him away. And the goal is to have at least 2 characters drive him away before turn 14, and then get out. Actually, no, they only need to will him away once. It says characters need to will Booger away before the end of turn 14, but then 2 need to at least make it back to the car over here. So as long as he's willed away once, but that's an interesting twist on how the game usually goes, because the characters want to generate a bunch of terror, so that it's easier to pass the roll to banish him. Anyway, the other rules: come one, come all. If Booger has not been conjured by the end of the fright phase on turn 3, he is placed in the center of the map. You investigate balloons. You have to roll your combat to check them, not awareness. And when it's successfully investigated, the character gains 1 point of terror, and Booger immediately becomes enraged if he's on the table. There's a special rule called Bonk 3000, which just means that Booger is using his big hammer to send you flying if he attacks you and pushes you away. 1 light in the center of the map, as I said, and yeah, we covered that. We'll look at the specifics of how Booger is set up in a moment. Last thing to do first though, I have the 6 character cards here already shuffled. I'm just going to roll the die, rolling repeats, or re-rolling repeats, to pick who we're getting. So we're getting 6, 3, 4, oh, re-roll, 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 come on now, nope, re-roll. I'm really good at rolling 3, 4s and 6s. There we go, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means we're not getting Alice and we're not getting Ranger Sandy. We are getting Max, Seth, Denise, and Holden. So here is the setup we have to use for Booger the Clown, sans the dog hair. He is a familiar, so 10 wounds, and they have 2 different attacks. Again, the Bonk 3000 rule applies to the attack there. This is the miniature for him. I showed off before, but hey, why not? There's another look. His MO is lunging. That means he appears behind people and stabs at them, or hits them with big hammers, as the case may be. He has the Dead Eyes trait, which means that if you can see him when you activate, you gain 1 terror, which is actually to their advantage in this scenario. And then he also has Daywalker, which means he's not affected by light tokens. He can walk in them, he can attack people in them. He doesn't care, which is pretty fun. So that means Seth and his torch are basically worthless, but hey, whatever. So we'll get set up and get started. So as we start turn 1, you can see our pesky kids have just come out the car there and are ready to explore. They just need to go around and generate themselves terror, so they don't necessarily need to go after the balloons, but that is a guaranteed way to get some terror. And if we can make Booger appear, deliberately make them see him from a distance, that will help build this up. So just as a reminder, we need to drive him off via conquering our fear once, and then at least 2 of these 4 need to get back to this car before turn 14 to get out alive. But as always, we start with the fright phase for the first battle round, which I'm just going to mark here using the Blacksite Studios dice. So On turn 1 it is a 10 plus, and that is a 9, so very close, but the fright tokens don't activate. We know for sure if they don't summon him beforehand, he's going to appear at turn 3, but he's not appearing right now. So, killer phase, we don't do anything in the killer phase except flip the lights. So the middle light gets flipped and is currently off, and then I get to actually do stuff, and we just want to go around and get terror. As far as what will trigger jump scares, the attractions will, the big trees will, the big clumps of bushes will, and any big clusters of stone, and the dead tree if we get that far over there. They'll all trigger jump scares, which again in this scenario might actually be a good thing. So let's start with Max the Abs, because he can use his baby blues to give Denise a free move action. No terror, so we don't need to really worry about him tripping on turn 1. So we're just going to double move his 8 inches, which gives him that much. We're going to move towards the closest balloon with him, where we'll do a jump scare for him being next to the attraction. That's a 2. Eerie sounds. The character makes an awareness test. On a failed test, the character trips. What is Max's awareness? His awareness is a 10. We rolled a 12, so I'm going to have to double check again if you have to roll under or over. Yeah, it is equal to or less than, so I'm going to have Max use one of his 2 luck to re-roll that. And he's failed it again, so he has fallen over and will need to get up next turn. Now I'm not sure if he's allowed to use baby blues or not when he's tripped. I'm going to say he has, or can rather. So Denise is going to make a 4-inch move towards him to help him up, although she's going to stay a bit further away from the attraction, so we don't have to. Actually no, each turn only 1 jump scare can be done per bit of scenery, so we're okay, but she's still got 2 actions. 1 is not enough to get her into base to base with the balloons to attack. She'll have to double move. That's okay though, because again she's got no terror yet, so there's no chance of her tripping in theory. So she'll move into base to base around this side with these balloons. She's not going to attack them yet because she can't, and that leaves Holden and Seth. Seth moves a pathetic 3 inches, so he'll waddle 6 this way towards the balloon over here. Holden's going to back him up. Actually I want him this way a little bit so he's more than 2 inches away from that tree. Let's just make sure he is. Yep. And Holden moves 4. Not that much better, to be honest, but Holden has that advantage, as I kick the camera, of being able to ignore a jump scare once per turn because he's brave. So he's just going to walk over here towards the balloon that's just out of sight almost, and that's going to conclude the first turn. So we're able to just move around to the second and start again with the fright phase. So for round 2 we need to see if the fright tokens do anything. It is on a 6 plus on a d10. That's a 10, so they absolutely do. You start with the one furthest away from people. You can see one of them down there, that's the closest one. The other one, I think you can make out just to the right of the Ferris wheel up there. So let's roll for the one over there, see what it does. A 6 means it's moving 6 inches towards the closest character, which in this case would be Holden. I'll move that in between takes in a second. What's this one doing? That's a 5, I think that's the exact same result. Yep, move 6 towards the closest character. That's going to be the tripped over. Actually, no, Denise is closer. Yeah, Denise is closer. So it's going to be right there. So it's going to start generating some terror, which again, in this scenario, is not necessarily a bad thing. So after the fright phase, there's no killer yet. So the only thing that happens then is the light is flipping back on in the center of the table. So we'll cover my next turn in 2 phases. We'll handle Denise and Max down here, then go over there for Seth and Holden. So let's, I don't know if I want to stand up with Max first. Standing up is a quick action, so all he can really do after that is move because he doesn't have a ranged weapon. Oh, it's actually, is he also within 4 of that fright token? I guess you would have to go by the base, not him tipping forwards. I would say not, so only Denise is. That's okay. Let's go with Denise first, because if the killer gets conjured, when Max activates, he'll see it and generate terror. So she's starting within 4 of a fright token, so that's 1 terror right there, which is fine in this case. And she's going to try and pop the balloons, which is a combat check, not an awareness check. As per the rules. What is her combat? It's probably not very good. Her combat is 5. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay, well, we'll give it a go anyway, because why not? She actually did it, so that was a bit unexpected. The balloons pop. Well, actually, it doesn't make him appear, does it? It just makes him enraged if he's on the table. To investigate the balloons, characters roll under their combat. Yep, did that. When a balloon token is successfully investigated, the investigating character gains 1 point of terror, so that's why you do it as well. Yeah, so she's up to 2 terror now. And Booger immediately becomes enraged if on the table. He's not on the table, so he is not enraged. Also, he is not here, so I guess we're safe. Max will stand up for a quick action, and he will move so that he starts his next turn within 4 of this fright token on the assumption it's still here. So he's just going to move there, and for lack of anything better, he's going to make Denise move half an inch by doing Baby Blues, because she'll follow him, but she doesn't have to move very far to get into base to base with him. Alright, over to the other two. So up there is where the other two are. Holden is going to walk into base to base, because I don't think you can do ranged actions because it's still an investigate, you're just using your combat stat. So Holden is going to move into base to base with this balloon and attempt to pop it. His combat is 12, so that's pretty decent. Where can I roll this so you'll see it? Over here. He missed it by 1. He could use a luck. He's got 1. No, he's got 2 luck actually. Yeah, he'll use a luck token. There you go. He has also popped a balloon. He gets 1 point of terror for his trouble. And then he's done. Seth is just gonna... Maybe I should deliberately get him jump scared. Actually, also one of the other two should probably have rolled for a jump scare on this turn. I totally forgot, but Seth can do it. As long as somebody does it. So he's going to move over here. Oh, actually, I forgot Booger appears next turn, doesn't he? Is it the start of turn 3 or as it crosses over to turn 4? I'll need to check. Either way, actually, if he moves there, he's outside of 2. Yeah, he's actually safe where he is, but if Booger does appear at the top of turn 3, that's not going to matter, because that's what we're going into right now. So as we start the third turn, it's at the end of the fright phase. If Booger has not been spawned naturally, he will just appear now. So let's see if the fright tokens are even doing anything. It's on a 5+. No, they're not, which means the fright phase is done, and Booger does indeed appear. And it says at the end of the fright phase specifically, so that he can get a turn. So Seth is in, he's in danger territory, because a psychopathic killer clown has just appeared. So we're into the killer phase, and luckily for Seth, even though you don't or haven't placed the killer using his MO, because it specifically says he must appear in the center of the map there, presumably it still follows the targeting rules for his MO, which means he wants to go after the person with the most terror. So he wants to go after Denise, and as a result, we're rolling a d10 to see how far he moves. That's a 10, so it's already pretty bad. Plus he gets +1, is it? Or is it +2 per terror point? Let me just see here real quick. Killer phase. +2 inches if the target is tripped. Nope. +1 inch for each terror point. So he's moving a total of 12 then. I think that might be enough for him to actually get in range. Also, this is focusing on the wrong thing, isn't it? It's focusing on the scenery and not the clown. The clown is moving. Yeah, he can easily reach her. Okay. Well, before we initiate the attacks, I'll move the camera then, because he's now totally behind the camera, or behind the scenery. So let's do that. Hey kids, it's Booger the Killer Clown. So he's attacking Denise, and he's doing both his attacks starting with Unexpected Stabbing, which is combat 16 on the old D20. Oh, he actually failed. That's pretty good, which means the Bonk 3000 doesn't proc. So then he does a surprising backhand. This attack targets the character with the lowest number of terror points within 4 inches that was not targeted by Unexpected Stabbing. So he's actually after Max then, in the case of a tie you choose. Combat 15, on Max he's just doing a backhand slap. He actually failed that as well, which is pretty amazing. So Booger did not do much, and now that he's staring them in the soul, he's going to give them some terror points as well. Denise could try a risky, I'm going to have to think about it, but Denise could try a risky just driving him off immediately. That would be very anticlimactic, but possible. Well, we're on to my turn, so let's just see what would happen with Denise. Will him away as a long action, so she can do a quick action first. I'm just debating what to do here. She could stumble away, I suppose, and then do the check. Or she could just be brave and stay where she is, because you can't do a quick action after a long action. I'm just double checking the stumble away is a quick action. Stumble away, yeah. Killer 2 inches away from the killer, and then you have to do an awareness test to see if you trip. But if you trip, you take 1 injury. She'll risk that. She'll just stumble back 2 inches. Although first of all, I guess we should cover terror. +1 for that token, +1 for staring him in the soul, looking at his dead eyes. So she's up to 4 terror. Does she trip? That rolled off camera, but it was an 8, and her awareness is an 8, so she's fine. And then she'll try and drive him off as a long action. So let's just read this. Oh, you have to stay within 2 inches of Booger to actually... Well, she's exactly 2 inches away, more or less. I eyeballed it. Roll a d20. If the result is less than the character's current terror points, they drive him away. And it counts for the rose as being driven off, which is the equivalent of killing the killer, which has not happened yet in this series. What we got? 15. That would be a no. Is it worth using luck on it? How much luck does she have? She only has 1 luck token. Why not? Let's go for it. 7. Not quite good enough. She's getting there, but not quite good enough. So, no insta-win for us this time. Max will activate. He immediately gets 1 terror, because he is staring the clown in its eyes, which again is okay. Now he could go after one of the balloons, or he could smack the clown. I think he'll smack the clown. He'll attempt to do it with his combat of 10, and he rolled an 11. Well, he can't win them all. I know he has 1 luck left, but I want to save that for a driving off attempt. So that's those 2 done. Well, it's over to Seth and Holden. I think I want them to head towards the other balloons to start generating some terror there, even though it might enrage, or will enrage, if they're able to pop. So Seth is going to move 6. There's no point aiming for the light because this killer can go into the light. That's why I haven't bothered flipping it, incidentally, because it doesn't matter if it's on or off for the purposes of him chasing anyone. So Seth is heading down for that one. Holden has to get through or around this hedge. Counting it as difficult terrain would half his movement, so going around it is the only option really. Plus he can't really stay in it. So first move action, 4. Second move in action, 4. And he'll use his skill to avoid the jump scare for being in this red, or being next to this red building. You can just about see there. So that is my turn again. Holden moved twice. There is a slight chance he'll fall. Seth didn't have any terror. Although actually he could see Booger, so he would have had 1 as well. So that's a fine, and that's a fine. So Seth does have 1 terror, but neither of them would have fallen over. Top of turn 4, fright tokens activate on a 4+. That's a 3, they do not activate. Okay, in that case we'll just go straight to Booger's turn. The person with the most terror, or fright rather, from the terror tokens and whatnot is Denise. So don't really need to roll this with how much terror she's got on her, but 2 plus 4. He makes it into base to base with her, and let's zoom in a smidge because he's about to bonk with that hammer, starting with unexpected stabbings. 11 is good enough, isn't it? Let me just double check. Yep, so she has taken 2 injuries, but then Bonk 3000 kicks in. When he makes a successful attack with attack number 1, which is what unexpected stabbings is, the target character is moved directly away from him 3 inches and he trips. Booger's number 1 attack does not cause bleeding. Just as well, because I didn't realise it was supposed to cause bleeding, but because he's using a hammer it doesn't bleed anyway. It's not unexpected stabbings, it's unexpected bonkings. Bonk, knocked over, out of sight just. Then he'll do his backhand attack on Max again, because he's within 4. A 15, is that good enough? It is. He also takes 1 damage and also trips. Bonk on the floor. So Denise has taken 2 damage, Max has taken 1 damage, and they're both on the floor, and now it's over to my turn. Well, I think we're just going to stay down here and go with these 2. Let's go with Max first. He has to stand up as a quick action. First of all, he can see the killer and he can see that fright token. So that is 2 more on him. He's up to 3 of his 4 fright. Remember, for every point above their maximum fright, they start having minuses applied to their awareness checks and whatnot, which again isn't super relevant for this one. What can he do though? I guess he could try for a clutch drive off the killer with the will him away. He'd have to be I mean, yeah, standing up is a quick action, so willing him away is a long action, so he's staring the clown down in the soles of his eyes, or in the back of his eyes. He rolled a 7. Not good enough. Is it worth using the luck? Sure. Let's use the luck. That's his last luck gone. It's worse. That's a 9. Or is that a 6? That's a 6, but still not good enough. So he's done. Denise will stand up, and unfortunately she's more than 2 inches away, so she can't try and drive him off. She is going to get 2 more terror. Oh wait, Max could baby blues. No, because she's on the ground. Oh yeah, we had this come up last time, didn't we? Can a character is on the ground like crawl towards Max if he uses baby blues? Because the skill just says, may give a female model within his awareness a free move action directly towards him once per turn. It doesn't stipulate what happens if they're on the ground. The whole reason for him like knocking you 3 inches away is so you can't just keep on spamming checks. I get it. Like, there's a reason it is that way. I'm not sure how to apply the baby blues. It has to be during his turn, so it is while she's on the floor. I'm going to assume that you can't. It seems too easy to do that. So she stood up anyway. She can't do a drive him off because she's more than 2 inches away. She is going to charge her anyway. She's up to 6 terror. Got to be careful because if you get 10, then at the start of a turn you just die. He's going after her no matter what because she has the most tokens on her. What if she positions herself in such a way that he can't push her very far back? Yeah, she's going to move into base to base with him and be there. So if he pushes her, she'll still be within 2. You can use the scenery to her advantage, although she is going to have to do a jump scare, I guess, even though the killer is on the table. So let's quickly do that. 6. The nearest fright token moves 6 towards her. That's not a problem, really. That's fine. Over to the other 2. Well, Seth and Holden can't see Booger currently. Seth is going to move twice. He's still got 1 terror on him. Is he going to trip after his second move? Nope. That was a 6. That is not quite... Oh no, it is. Nope, no it's not. He's not quite in base to base with the balloon, but he can try and pop it next turn if he wishes. If we just move the camera in recording, Holden can very easily, with his 4 inches, move into base to base with this balloon, cancel the jump scare that would be forced upon him, and his combat was it 11? 12. Let's roll here. It rolled off camera, of course, I didn't even see what it was. It was an 8, so he did pop the balloon. Unfortunately, that means Booger is enraged now and crits much easier. But on the plus side, that's 1 more terror on Holden, so he's up to 2. So on turn 5, it is a 3+ on a d10 that the fright tokens do the thing. That is a 6, so we are good to go. And the one that's furthest from people is the one over by the Ferris wheel that you can't quite see, and then obviously the one right there. We'll go for the Ferris wheel first. That is a 1. Remove the token, flip all lights. Easy enough. So that token is gone anyway, so it doesn't matter that you couldn't see where it was. And the one that matters, this one right here, that's a 3. Remove the token and flip all lights. So that means 2 new ones are going to be spawning at the fright phase next turn, and basically where they started in B and C. But now's the important part. Booger wants to devour the soul of poor Denise because she has the most terror by far. She's up to 6. And it's just straight to his attacks. So let me just grab his card. Unexpected stabbings, 16 or less. No crit thankfully, but did smack her, so that's 2 more damage. She's up to 4 wounds. And then Bonk 3000 kicks in and she goes whoop, smashes into there, but still within 2, that's the important part. And then he does a surprise backhand on Max, 15 or less. Rolled off camera, but it is an 11, so that's 1 damage to him and knocks him over again. That's his second wound, and oof, just backhand to the face. Okay, that's not so bad. We can work with this. Alright, I was just looking at what Denise could possibly do as a quick action before attempting to drive him off as a long action. She could do an Inspire to give Max +2 to his next skill check, but That doesn't really work on the way this is doing the driving off, because you have to roll under, not over. But I'm not sure if that would apply. Like, do you count yourself as having 2 more terror points than you do? Is that how you would apply it to this? I'm honestly not sure, so she's just going to forgo doing a quick action and just go straight to the long action. It's the one that matters. She's up to... well, actually, she's at 6 currently, but when she begins her activation, she gets 1 more because she's staring Booger in the soul. So she's at 7 now. Let's see if she does anything. That would be a natural 20. Did I use her luck token? I've definitely used both of Max's, one of Holden's, none of Seth's. I can't remember if I've used Denise's or not. Let's see if it matters. Doesn't matter. She rolled a 20 and then she rolled a 19, so she's useless. Max will stand up as a quick action. I kind of want Denise to stay where she is so she can't get bonked away. And he'll just stay where he is as well, and I guess he'll attempt to drive off, although it's much less likely because he needs a 1, 2 or a 3. He actually did it. He rolled a 3. Hang on, is it less? No, it has to be less than. It's not equal to or less than. Yeah, it has to be less. He missed it by 1. Wait, no he didn't, because he started his activation looking at Booger, so he's actually up to 4. He did do it. Get driven off, clown. Max has overcome his fear of not being hot, which is what I presume is his fear. So when he is driven off, that means we have a turn of respite before he's returned to the table for 1, but that means we can now just try and escape. Need to will Booger away before the turn 14, and at least 2 characters have to make it back into contact with the car. Yeah, we are getting out of here. Well, it was a bit of a wasted effort sending these 2 down here, but what can you do? When he does return, which is not next turn but the turn after, he's placed according to his MO, which means he's only going to be 6 inches away from Denise because she's the most scared. So we do need to hustle, but if they can get back to the car, that's technically a win right there. But they're going to try and potentially wait for Seth and Holden. Does Seth trip? If he does, it's not good for him. He's fine. Holden's got 2 fright on him. He is going to trip, but it's at the end of his second movement he trips. So he's moving 8, beelining for the car, and then just stumbles and falls on his face. Excellent. So as we go into the next turn, because there's no fright tokens on the table, 2 automatically appear. So I'll put those down first, and then we'll carry on. So now we're at the top of turn 6. Fright tokens always activate from this point on, and I guess if we get a bad result on a fright token, the killer could come back this turn, so we don't necessarily have this as a free turn, which could potentially be bad. So there's 2 fright tokens back, 1 you can see there, 1 at the very top right there, and we roll for that first because it's the furthest away from anybody. Roll here. I always roll too far. A 5 means it's moving 6 towards Holden, so it'll basically be on him. And then this one here, 4. That's the same thing. Closest person would be Max, and it's going to be right on him. 6 inches. Well, not quite, but it is basically, it's within distance to give him extra terror. Let's just move the other one while I'm at it. That would put it directly in the bush. There. Don't go near that bush. That might be where Booger is hiding. So yeah, because he was driven off last turn, he doesn't come back yet, but he does come back automatically in the next turn. So it's over to my poor kiddies here who need to escape. So Denise and Max are both going to get 1 more point of fright, terror, I keep on interchanging those words, when they activate, so I'm just adding those now. That puts Denise at 2, 4, 6, she's at 8, so she's 2 away from dying of fright as soon as the fright phase starts. Max is at 5. Holden is also going to get 1 actually, so that's going to put him at 3. But it shouldn't be too bad. We're going to go with Max first, and he's going to move a little bit weird, so he's out of 2 inches of doing a jump scare, because that way we don't accidentally risk the killer appearing. He's going to move there. Does he trip? 5 or less he trips. He does not trip. He's going to use Baby Blues, pull Denise towards him, like that. And then she is going to double move and get to the car. Does she trip when she gets to the car though? 12. No, she does not. Because she moves 4 as well. Everybody moves 4 except Seth. Yeah. So she can move twice. That puts her into base to base with the car, which has, we turn ever so slightly, mysteriously been covered in the balloons they've been popping. So So Denise is basically out. She's starting the engine. Everyone else needs to follow. Speaking of which, the direct route for Seth is going to put him right at a jump scare. We're going to have to risk it. Is he also going to trip? He's at 1. Barely, he rolled a 2. So Seth is going to move directly here. He's going to do a jump scare for being next to this, which means I need to get the jump scare table. Jump scare, D10. 7. The character gains 1 terror. Not bad, that's fine. He's up to 2. Holding standing up and then walking once, so he doesn't need to do another trip check. Stand up. Walk 4. So that's good and all, but now as we go into the next turn, well, 1, the fright tokens do something obviously, but then Booger gets placed according to his MO, which is going to be bad. So to start turn 7, the fright tokens automatically activate, rolling for the one that is... oh, actually it's this one that's furthest from people now. That's a 2. Remove the token, flip lights. It's gone. That means the last token automatically becomes the killer. Gonna have to double check how that works then. Alright, as far as I can tell, it would still become the killer even though he was driven off. What driven off does, everyone should have removed 1 point of terror, which is one thing I missed, and it gives them the special rule moment of respite, which applies to the turn we just finished, where he literally cannot appear, because if you got a it's here result on a fright token, you treat it as a what was that instead. So he wouldn't have been able to appear last turn, but it does seem like he has materialized from the bush I warned you about, and is going to go after, well actually he's still going to go after the person with the most terror. So that is still going to be Denise, even with everybody losing 1 from the killer being driven off. So he's actually going to ignore Holden and just like shoot past him. We can move him right now I suppose, and then you'll be able to see him once he's moved. So that's a flat 8 plus 2, 4, 6, 7. Great, so he's moving 15 towards Denise. Oh, that's enough to get to her. Oh dear. Zoop! Just shoots on past. Hello Clarice. Sorry, I mean Denise. And then he's going to smack her with his hammer. Yep, he does. So that's 2 wounds, knocks her away 3 inches. She's up to 5 wounds, and her kill point is 10, in case you've forgotten. Or point at which she would be killed, I should say. And then there's no one around to do the backhanded slap to, so presumably that doesn't happen. Thankfully though, I can actually get the win condition this turn, but I would like to see if I can get the other 2 out as well. Denise can... well, let's see. She can't heal her own wounds, she can only heal someone else's. Max is going to move twice. Does he trip on a second move, 4 or less? Which knocked him away a little bit. No, he does not. So he's going to move 8, and he's going to block Denise. He's going to get in the car and start trying to start it. So I'm playing the Friday the 13th video game. Denise will move over here into the car as well, and we'll do a take a look at action, which I think heals 2 wounds. Let me just see here. Where is it? Let me take a look. Remove 2 injury tokens from a friendly within 2, so Max is healed back to full health. Oh, but they both would have had terror from looking at the clown. Seth, he's going to move twice. Does he trip on the second move? It'd have to be a 1. He does not. Next turn he can get out. Does Holden trip? He has 2. No. How close can he get? Right there. So we are at another turn now, so technically 2 more fright tokens should generate. It's not going to matter because of how far away they are. It just comes down to what Booger's going to do on his final turn. So let's see if he manages to take someone out before we escape. Well, we don't really need to roll for Booger making it into combat with Denise either, but hey, let's do it anyway. 3 plus 9. He makes it. He attempts to bonk. He successfully bonks. That's 2 more wounds to her. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. She's still alive. She gets slammed up against the car by the impact, and then he backhands Max again. he crits him, which does a total of 3, I think. 1 base plus 2 for the crit, or is crit 1 extra? Either way, it doesn't kill him, because he got healed just now. And he unfortunately trips though, so he's on the floor. Then it's my turn though. Only need to move once. Does need to move twice. Does he fall? He does actually trip. Seth trips in front of the car. Max stands up. They decide the nerd isn't worth it. They get in the car. And then... this really is the Friday the 13th video game. The poor nerd that fell over in front of the car, they just... oh, I'm so sorry. Oh. And they drive away from the killer clown, who gets to feast on a very scared nerd. So in the end, the nerd is dead. Only one of our team managed to conquer their fear, and they fled with Booger back on the table. So can they really say they defeated him? Perhaps, but within the classifications of the scenario, we do get a win, but the evil clown is still out there. Now there is another mission themed around Booger that comes in this expansion, but unfortunately you need a very specific terrain set really to make the most of it, that is sold alongside the game, because you have to do a number of carnival attraction games to defeat Booger once and for all. So that's probably the last we'll see of his specific story. Might see him as a generic killer in the future. That was a fun one though. He's got his balloons back, he's got a belly full of Seth, and the other 3 are just going to forget all this happened. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and see you in the future for some more Don't Look Back. Until then, ta for now.